Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and even if you're identifying tonight as a jar of crunchy peanut butter, Ray, that, you know, maybe you smeared all over yourself and allowed something to lick it off. I don't know. How are you, Ray? Ray's
He's so
gone.
good.
He's so good, he's speechless. And credit to Sheila, too, for putting the ball gagging so tight that you couldn't even hear him make the sick duck noise, the wah, 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 wah. You can't even hear him make that. So great job, Sheila. We really appreciate your commitment to the craft. And also, thank you to our guest tonight. I think maybe the most guested person that we've ever had. 5 times? Is that
We
correct?
looked. Yeah, we
We
looked.
we looked. We all know who the most is right now
Who is it?
It's
outside of me.
Aldo. He's got
Aldo's been
9.
on here 5 times
Yeah.
too? He's got 9? Oh, I guess if you count, like you can't count, like, guests. Like, he's just like a stunt comer in a porn. You can't count that. Like, if you're not actually doing the act, like, for the whole scene, we can't credit you in the role. I'm sorry. All right.
Lushy's got 7.
Listen, Lushy's got 7?
Yeah.
Good Lord. We need a leaderboard. I see. Speaking of leaderboards, for those of you that are scoring at home, live scoring updates from Los Lakers and the Mavericks down there in Dallas right now. And Aldo is actually leading the game right now with 420. So, Aldo, thanks for hitting several of those 25-point rock and jock MTV shots. Anybody remember that? The Rock and Jock basketball thing that was on MTV. God,
Mhm.
those are the days. They put that big ass
Mhm.
hoop up. Gosh, where'd that go? What happened to that? All right. So
Good times.
Cam is on here, and listen, I did some ego stroking on our last episode, and of course, Cam being the humble and gracious person that he is, was like, "Me? Yeah, you son of a bitch. All right. You're doing great. I love the content, and it's getting sharper and more incisive with every video that you put out. Because what I see there is that, I see not calling people out, but more of like what some people wish that we would do, which is like, hey, can you instead of ripping on all these
Yeah.
people, can you just like tell us the right thing to do? And we do that, but we do it more like an angry big brother than somebody who's trying to like get up alongside somebody. So I appreciate about how your content has continued to evolve, and I'm excited to hear more about what's going on. Um, Pops' lawn gives me a little tear in my eye every time I see it. So I want to hear about
It was
that.
it
So,
was it was a lot of it was a lot of conversations about that.
oh, but seriously though, but that's how you do this, man. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you sit there and you iterate on ideas, and then you got to go out and execute, and then I bet you. Okay, here's a good question to start. If I said, if I dropped you in the middle of some residential area in the Carolinas right now today, and said, okay, hey, you
Mhm.
got a week to plan and execute this. How confident are you on a 1 to 10 scale that you would kill it, knock it out of the park?
Oh, yeah. It probably a 10. 11. Like,
It's
it's
11.
like, especially if we're doing warm season. Like, one of the things that I wouldn't say afraid of, it was the hesitancy was the unknown, right? I had been cool season, like, that's what I knew. Like, it's one of those
Uh-huh.
things is when you go into the unknown, you just don't know what you're gonna experience, and, like, you just don't know what things you're gonna face. So you don't have that toolbox to be able to pull on from experience. Whereas with cool season, majority of the time, like I've been doing this long enough to be like, oh, yep, it needs this, or yep, it needs that, or yep, I can do this and that to be able to get it to do what I want it to do. But I didn't have that with warm season. Warm season, I was like, let's go for it and see what happens.
However,
Well,
in real life, cool season is fragile. Okay,
It,
Cam?
it,
Cool season is fragile. I mean,
eh,
in real life. I mean, I find that, based on my conversations with people, cool season is finicky, fragile, and a moment away from just checking out and saying aloha, you know?
yeah, Ray,
I mean,
Warm,
there
warm
I
season gives
go
you a
agree.
ahead.
lot more leeway.
I agree with you, Ray. Like I am one of those growing growing warm season. I don't want to bash anybody, but and I've said this before, and I've said it. I don't understand why there's warm season YouTube channels. I don't get it. You cut it, you feed it, and done. Like you cut it and you feed it, and a little bit of water here and there, maybe if you go
Hmm.
2 months without getting any water, and then as soon as it rains, it bounces back. Like it's
you
right back.
know, it does in season, but then, like, you get a tough winter, right? And you're coming out there in, like, April,
That's a
May,
different
and you're like,
story. Yeah,
why is that still
yeah,
gray and everything else
yeah,
around it is green?"
yeah.
Ray, I think that all grasses are like women that you date but should never marry, right? Because
Mhm.
those are
Hmm.
the type of all these grasses would absolutely throw your shit out on the driveway, take
Yep.
you for
At
everything you're worth, and leave
at
in a second and wouldn't
any
think twice about it.
given moment. Any given
And
moment.
you don't
All
marry
right.
that, and you don't.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that because you know what? Uh, to me, for example, having a zoysia lawn is like dating and then marrying the supermodel from Eastern Europe.
Ooh, ooh. Which
Sounds
grass
hot
has the
to me.
And
longest legs? Yeah.
what is that?
I said, which grass
She,
has the longest legs?
hmm. Well, that is the one that you turn around and all of a sudden, not only is there stuff on the driveway, but your supermodel is running away with the plumber or the UPS man.
I knew
Yeah,
that's what you were about to I knew that's what you were about to say.
or the janitor at the church. It's just funny how that works out
Yep.
sometimes. Okay,
Yep.
so Cam, okay, take us through, where are things now? If you want to talk about pops, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. But I like the contrast and the
No, yeah, we
dichotomy
can.
that you've got cool season, warm season, and it also I think is kind of unique in the fact that like north to south from your place to Pops's place, what's like how many miles is that? Just straight, if you as the crow flies, about how many miles is that?
Like 360, like, it's close to
Okay,
300 and yeah,
okay. But it
yeah.
shows you that, hey, he's got no problem growing it there. You could probably grow it where you're at, but it'd be a little dicey this time of year, and seeing what's coming back and what's not, right? So I guess take us through where are you at right now at home, and then where are you at over there? We'll talk grass first, and I want to talk content and what y'all got going on with the We Working crowd and all
Okay,
that kind of stuff. But let's start with grass.
alright, okay. Um, so we can start with Pops. So we started out the season. I think we're on season 2 or 3. No, this is going into season 3 of
Yeah.
having Pops lawn established. So we established it from sprigs. It is iron cutter, and first season we didn't put a fall pre-emergent and stuff down. Coming out last spring, it was infested with weeds. I mean, it was bad. Like it was bad. And I was like, "My goodness, like what what do we do?" Um, but we dropped a pretty heavy bomb on it, and it cleaned everything. It cleaned everything up. And I would probably say within a month's time it never once it got going and got some food on it, like, you never would have known that it looked the way that it did, 4 weeks ago. So I think that was
Mhm.
kind of one of those turning points of warm season is it's an alpha grass. I give it to it. Like it's just
Mhm.
a alpha grass. Like it, you feed it, you cut it. If you have the opportunity to put some water on it, go for it. But it doesn't take a lot. So looking at last year, how the lawn performed, if you would see how much input we actually had in it, we literally made 6 applications on that lawn. That was it. We
What
made
were those
6
applications?
applications.
What do those applications consist of, Cam?
So
For the
the first one was the bomb to clean the weeds up.
mhm.
So that was the first application,
A green dock
which all
special, I'm pretty sure.
yep, yep, which also included a pre-emergent at that time. Um, so once we got done with that, the next 4 applications was nothing but fertilizer. Like, we fed it 4 times last year. It got about just under 4 pounds of N on it last year. Um, and then the last application was a fall pre-emergent. And that's all we did to it. That was it. No, that was it. And
Hmm.
Impressive.
it it came out this spring clean. I mean, clean as a I mean, it is clean. He's got some broadleaves and stuff that are coming up right now, but you can see a night and day difference between where it was last year, where his neighbors are currently at right now, and also where the rest of the lawn is right now, because we gotta start paying a little bit of attention to the centipede. He wants to get that up and going a little bit better. So we're starting to clean some stuff up in that. Um, but as a whole, it is way cleaner and we have a way better start. It was already starting to green up like last week of February. Like it was already starting to green up. So I think here in a couple of weeks we're already just kind of letting things get going and letting kind of whatever weeds and stuff are going to come up, just kind of let them come up, let them get going. That way we can go ahead and do a application to get most of that cleaned up. More than likely with one app, kind of like we did last year. It's a whole lot less weeds than what we had to deal with last year, so I'm not even worried about it. And then from there, we'll stick to the same routine as what we did last year.
Easy peasy, right?
Well, only difference this year. This year we are going to sand level some areas in it this year. He's got his septic tank and his septic lines are in the front yard and they've kind of settled and you can kind of see the undulations and stuff there. So we don't he doesn't get as clean of a cut as what I know we can get. And the height of cut, I want to get the height of cut down a little lower.
I was gonna ask you about that. I mean, he's still mowing with a tractor, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Like what height of cut is that at right now, and what has it been at historically over the last 2 years?
So he would typically get it up around like that 2-inch mark is kind of where it was at the last because it would literally going across that one area where it's a pretty long run where the septic lines and stuff are.
Mhm.
It would scout bad anything lower than that. So this year we're gonna start the season off at like an inch and we're just gonna keep it there and just train it. We're just gonna train it at an inch and just let it scalp, let it do what it's gonna do. And then probably about mid-June ish time frame, we're gonna come in and do a race special on it and and make a beach.
All
Well,
right.
and I I think that'll work 'cause, like, um, we've had a couple fields we've done where it didn't have a reel mower to start, and, I think everybody does now, but, the texture on that iron cutter is not bad, meaning, like, it grows almost upright, so you get a pretty good
Yeah.
clean cut on it with a rotary, and if you're down an inch, like you said, I'd just go beat the hell out of it, and I
Mhm.
love that plan. I think that's gonna be a good plan. It's gonna look
Yeah.
weird for about 2, 3 weeks in May when you really
Yeah.
start getting going, but by June
Yeah.
1, you won't even
Yeah.
know it.
Yeah.
You
And
guys are
that's
gonna look like
kinda what
geniuses.
I was looking at it because there are some areas that are kind of sloped a little bit that you typically it gets cut lower than the rest of it. It typically gets cut around that inch and a quarter ish mark. And the
Mhm.
texture and the look of that versus the other portions of it is like night and day. And it looks so good. It's just like tight and like it I was like, "Pops," and I would walk him out there. I was like, "Pops, this is what everything should look like. This is what we need all of it to look like. Like, this is what it's supposed to look like." And he was like, "Yeah, man, it does look good." I was like, "We"
Mhm. Time to
I was
source
like,
a
"Alright, we"
triplex, Cam. Time to source a
Ooh.
triplex. That's what you actually need
What's
because you see
There's some good deals out
the
there right now, I'm just gonna say, like, for real,
yeah,
I keep
because
an eye on things.
you know what's catching my attention right now? How much scalping Pops is dealing with on the
Mhm,
uneven areas. And here's a misconception, if we haven't gone over this before. The misconception is that you need perfectly flat ground to run a reel on.
yeah,
I beg to
yeah.
differ in that you need perfectly flat ground if you're going to run a rotary and not have it look like hammered crap. Okay,
And and we've
that's
also
that's my
one of the things
profession.
that I've thought about one of the other things that I thought about is having trying to find like a gang reel, like a pull
Hmm.
behind gang reel
Those,
setup.
you know what, Cam? Unfortunately, a company that I knew that dealt in gang reel mowers for consumers, they went out of business.
What was the name of it? Because I think I know the one that you're talking about because I was looking I
Promo,
found one which one was it?
promo. Yeah, that was promo.
Okay,
They,
okay.
you know, in the mid 2000s, they had 3, 5, and 7 gang reel mowers, and they were priced very, very attractively. I mean, I'm talking about you could get a whole set for about $5,000,
Yeah.
where no, you can't get that deal anymore. I mean, promo no
Oh,
longer
they're out
is
there.
in business, but you'd have to get a hold of it. Uh, Alternative is Cam is graduate up to either a belt drive or a hydraulic drive triplex.
Mhm.
It's still a tractor, Cam. It's still a
There's
tractor,
Yeah.
and
there's
in
plenty of
some
deals
ways,
out there.
it might be easier to deal with than a gang reel because the thing about a gang reel is that with that one, your ground has to be of a consistent texture, or else the drive reels slip.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that under varying conditions, my best bet would be a triplex that retired from soccer field or baseball field duty.
I'm looking now, I mean, you definitely could get a solid one, and for the height that you're mowing, like, you don't want a fairway mower on Bermuda
Or a
because,
greens
you
mower,
know
or triplex
yeah.
greens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the reels, the diameter of the reels on those are gonna be 5-inch reels, and 5-inch reels are not heavy enough, like, even especially at a higher height of cut, you're gonna have to change, different settings on those depending on the manufacturer, and it's also gonna wanna chatter really easy. There's just not enough down pressure
Okay.
and weight, so
Yeah.
you get a heavier reel that's got a bigger diameter, so you get like a 7 or a 9-inch reel, and now you're talking. So, um, I will look up I just looked up a few here on the old turf net, but let's look here. And I think that that height range, for what we're talking for these larger diameter reels, easily between
Three
half
quarter,
an inch
three quarter,
and an
three
inch,
quarter
no
inch,
problem.
3/4
Yeah.
inch, 1 inch. I'm imagining that if you could reel cut that iron cutter Bermuda at between 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, that
Mhm.
would
It'll
be
be
some
sexy as fuck.
premium turf grass.
Mhm. Mhm.
That would be some premium turf grass right
And
there,
and and
and
and that's where I wanna be. That's exactly where I wanna be. Somewhere between
and I
3
think
quarters and an inch.
and I think your old man would be just stunned by what that looks like.
Yeah.
Your old
So
man would get blown away.
it's funny because he was actually, he was at the dump after we had done some scalping to kinda get it
Mhm,
ready for the season. He was at the dump dropping off, the clippings. So this one lady was there at the dump and everything, and she was like, "What do you got there? Is that hay?" And then he was like, "No, it's my grass clippings and stuff from kinda getting my yard ready for the season to start." And then she was like, "Oh, yeah?" She was like, "Well, there's this one house on this one street that's, like, right there in the curve." And she was like, "Man, I tell you, it has got the prettiest yard that I have ever seen." She was like, "It is
mhm.
always green. It just
You don't
looks so
say.
flat." She was like, "It just looks so flat and uniform." She was like, "I've never seen a yard that looked that good." And so, my dad is eating it up at that time. Like, pops is loving it. He was like, "Well, you know who owns that house right there on that on that road, on that street?" And he was like, "Yep, that's mine." She was like, "But sir," she was like, "that's probably one of the prettiest lawns that I have ever seen in my life."
Wow.
Yeah, man, it's
Wow.
people like my he'll say that he can barely get stuff done out in the front yard when it's growing season because people are just constantly stopping by to talk about the
Looky
yard.
loos, right, Cam? The looky loos come out because they've just never seen anything like that, and that kind of ascribes to this theory that I have where once a lawn gets over a certain size, I don't care where you are, but somehow, especially in a warm season region, that larger area starts to resemble, like, for lack of a better description, like industrial turf. It doesn't look nice like a home
Yeah,
lawn anymore.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's like once you get over 5,000 square feet, people normally stop caring
yeah, and they just let it
about what
be
the grass is.
what it's gonna be.
It is what it is, yeah. Where,
Yeah.
as I said, if I had a large area, my first inclination would be, okay, time to source a triplex and a boom sprayer.
But
Oh
Ray,
It's
boy.
on.
I think the reason for that is, right, trying to manage it and the cost of actually trying to manage, uh, a yard that size. I mean, 'cause just Pop's front that we did the renovation on, that's 20,000 just on that
Mhm,
section. Like, he's sitting
mhm,
on just under an acre. Um,
mhm,
so, like, just trying to manage that amount of turf, like, to the average person, it seems, like, astronomical, like, there's no way that I can do this, but
You
it
think
doesn't
it's
really have to
astronomical?
be it doesn't
It
really
doesn't have to
have
be
to
that.
be that complicated, and I think
No,
that's
no.
kinda one of the things that I was trying to get to people with, saying if you pick the right grass type in the for that area that you're dealing with, and you can have a pretty simple program. Like I said,
Mhm,
we put about 4 pounds of N, just under 4 pounds of N on it, 6 total applications all year, and that was it. Like, I mean,
mhm.
we coulda did it even simpler and just went with straight urea or AMS and been done with it for, I mean, we probably would have spent $300 the whole season to manage that much turf. Like, it doesn't have to be that complicated
Well,
when you
Cam,
pick a quality grass type.
when you pick a quality grass type and you have a program that is geared towards absolute efficiency. In other
Yeah.
words, you're not buying gimmicks and nonsense. You're basically doing it like how the pros would actually do it. Because as I said, it's all about having an efficient program,
Yeah.
right? Because you know you don't need to spend money on the latest biostimulant or magic solution. And for goodness sake, if you have an acre of turf to manage, you're not buying your chemicals from Home Depot.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, because now we're talking, let's buy the package that's intended for treating 5 to 10 acres at a time, because
Yep.
that way you have some left over for next year and the year after that,
Yep. And I mean,
right?
that's what we did. I mean, we've bought the herbicides and stuff that we needed to use at the beginning of the renovation,
Hmm.
and we still have them. Like, we're still on that. We're going into season 3, and yeah,
Hmm.
we spent some money up
But
front,
yeah, it's
to
some
do
upfront
it,
bucks.
but now you split that cost over 3 years.
5 years.
Like, you use 3 to 5 years. I mean, because I think we've got, as the weeds and stuff get less and less, I mean, we're not spraying that much. So, and I really think by the time we get to year 4 and 5, it ain't gonna be a whole lot of weed spraying that's gonna be necessary.
There will be a little bit, still needed, and I do
Yeah.
believe in the maintenance apps in spring. I mean, that's something that I kind of harp on because I had the most infuriating conversation with a customer. Infuriating. And their claim was that, oh, Bermuda is terrible because it grows weeds. And
Huh?
yes, yes, sir.
Huh?
Okay, okay. I know. Ryan, you're reminding me of that gif of that poor guy that was just perplexed, and he's like, above his head it says, "What?" Okay,
Yeah.
and
What?
I turned on that person. And I said, the reason why you have weeds in Bermuda is because nobody sprays anything. That's why there's
Mm.
weeds. You spray your
Mhm.
pre and post emergent in the spring, you shouldn't have a problem. I mean, because look at what I do. My wintertime, early spring app is pre-emergent plus a pretty stout post-emergent, application that's designed to annihilate whatever doesn't belong there. And
Mhm.
so I don't buy this concept that Bermuda grass grows weeds.
No.
I just don't buy it.
No. Not at all.
Well, and I like that approach too of like what you said there, Cam, of having all the tools that you need at your disposal and then just whatever you want to call it, nursing along, right? But I
Hmm.
really think that more people that get freaked out by cost should, bite the bullet and add
Amortized.
something. Well, just
Am,
just
am,
no, or add one. If you're gonna do a renovation, like pull out all the stops because you got a lot riding on that.
Yeah.
Not just the money and the effort and everything, but the time, right? The time of
Yeah.
what you have to do to prep for it, install it, and then grow it in. Like you don't want to you don't want to miss on something like that
Yeah.
for what would be a few $100 purchase, and then just get yourself on the payment plan of I'm going to add one expensive tool a year, and depending on the size of your lawn, that shit could last you 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
long as you're keeping it in climate control, like, there's not a whole lot that's out there now chemistry-wise that's gonna be threatened by a shelf life like that.
Yeah.
Agree, Ray?
I
Ray
totally
died again.
agree.
Oh,
No, no, I'm here. I totally agree, guys. Is that if you have something like a dry flowable herbicide, like say Celsius and Monument
Mhm.
can, or Celsius and Certainty, that stuff will
Yeah.
literally last as long as it takes for you to use those products up. It's not like it's going to be dead and unusable the following season. Am I right, Ken?
Yep, yep, I can, because those are in the arsenal. Yep.
Oh, and I take it that those went into that weed bomb that you deployed.
Yep, yep.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's the thing, and Ryan, I completely agree with you. And that was one of the conversations that I had with Pops was at the beginning. It was like, if we do this, we're gonna do it right. And I basically put the proposal out to him from a cost breakdown, like everything, and was like, this is what we're gonna need. This is what it's gonna be. If we do it, this is how we're gonna do it, and it's the only way that we're gonna do it. And
Yeah.
and he was like, "All right, let's do it." And that's kind of how we ended up where we were. And I know my pops, like he's a numbers guy. Like he's got to see the numbers. He's got to know what the numbers are. And you put the numbers in front of him, and he can go plan for that. Like, right? He can go count his golden eggs in the back and be like, "All right, yeah, I think I got it." He's gonna slow talk it, and then it was like if he really wants it and he really wants to go spend the money, he'll go do it. And it was like that was part of the conversation. I was like, "Hey, pops, man, we ain't about to cut no corners. Like it ain't gonna be no half stepping. We're gonna get a quality cultivar. We're gonna get the quality products that we need to have to be able to get it done, so that if anything does come up, we got the tools that we need to go take care of it." And that's what we did. I mean, that's how we did it. And hey, man, I just want some. Now I'm at the phase of I want some iron cutter that I can manage up here, that I can that I can see and take care of myself.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
oh
Tell me more
yeah.
about that.
That's what I want to do. Like I really wanna go do that. So I'm debating. Like I've got the rye over in my test plant right now, and I'm debating if I'm keeping it or not through the season.
Hmm. And then, I
If
mean, so,
if it
like,
stays, it'll
how would you
stay. It's good. It
it'll stay what?
it'll be good content. It'll be good content. It'll a lot of people question growing ryegrass in like the transition zone climate, but it's like, well, I pretty much know that I probably can do it, and I'm not. I'm more than likely it's gonna survive. But there's a lot of questions about, like, growing Bermuda grass in this area, and is it, like, a viable source, of a grass type to be able to grow in this area? And I know it is, I mean, because I mean, you got 'em in all over the place. So, it'll grow just fine. It's a conversation of, "Hey, it's gonna be down from this period of time to this period of time." I'm cool with that. But I can just guarantee you during the summertime, you're gonna have the greenest thing on the block, and it ain't gonna burn out like everybody else's during the summer, especially like the yards that are full sun.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't think it's a mistake there at all. In fact, I think it's a huge positive. It's a win, and where you're at in general terms, like it I'm not saying you would never get winter kill, but I don't think you would get winter kill on a scale that would make you be like, "Oh my god, like why did I do this?" And
I mean,
hell,
Yeah, yeah.
think about how your back's against the wall all summer long with fescue right now. I mean, and that's like a sure
Mhm,
thing. Like you are going to fight it. You're
mhm.
going to be pissed off at it. There's going to be
Yep.
days where you do not want to go outside and look at it. And I just liken it to this is like any grass you pick, and Ray can even say this in Hawaii, right? There's gonna be a period of somewhere between like 6 and 12 weeks where you shit razor blades, and that's just the way it is, right? And so
Mhm,
fescue all summer long,
mhm,
looking at it and then trying to recover in the fall, or the reason that I like Bermuda in the transition zone is that, okay, hey, listen, if something goes wrong, I've got all the time in the world, and I have a super aggressive grass that's gonna make me look like a hero really quickly, right?
mhm.
Versus if it happens, if you get wiped out with brown patch in June on tall fescue, you got to sit
You're
there and
done.
take your medicine for the 2 months,
You
dude. You're not doing anything for
you're
2 months.
done.
It's cooked. So like now
Yep.
it's like, okay, hey, it's May. We got 10% loss on winter kill out there. There's some spots that
Mhm.
I can just let go and let it fill in. There's other spots where I may need to plug some from some, better areas. And hell, I might need to get myself some sprigs and go out there
Some
and sprig and
sprigs,
chop
yeah.
those. And I'll do it. And you know what? If I do that on in your area, Memorial Day, I'm gonna say by the 4th of July, you could hardly tell.
Oh,
And
yeah.
by about 2
Oh,
weeks
yeah.
after that, you'll never know. You'll never know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know. I like it. I think it'd be cool. So like, how would you do it at your place, or is this like doing it somewhere else up there?
So, that's what I got up in the air, is whether or not if I wanna do it here, I would like to do it here, because I would also like to real mow it and get it nice and tight, probably half inch or so, because 'cause
Hmm.
I've got the Hudson that I would put on it, so I would I would like to be able to do it here, but I've also proposed it to a couple of my clients. I've got one that's actually irrigated, that's about the size of my pop's front lawn, that he is interested in in potentially being able to do it. And I my proposal to him is like, if you want to do something in your backyard, it's basically full sun. Like, it's not a tree in sight, and it's full sun all day long. And I was like, if you want to do this, I would recommend going with some iron cutter Bermuda back here. So I gave him the numbers, and we'll kind of see what he says.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's all about here's the thing is it's going to work, right? So it's finding
Oh yeah.
somebody that has, means motive opportunity and getting it in there because, okay, it's like this, right? Like, and especially depending on like where it's located, like if it is, front yard, backyard, side yard, if there's not a fence up around, like if it's accessible, right? Like what that lady saw in Pops's lawn and was like sitting there, you know, petting petting the ego,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you gotta listen, before you go on, you gotta I'm picturing in my mind how this went, and you have to appreciate that Pops didn't, pop the hook and set it right away. He just let some line out, let her go, let
Yep,
her go,
yep.
let her go. He waited, he waited, and then he got her. He got her, and,
Yep.
you gotta appreciate that. That's a fisherman right there, ladies and gentlemen. But, that will be the moment that you have, right? That somebody is gonna drive past that lawn and ask that person or see you out there and be like, "Hey, what the Sam hell is this?" Right?
Yeah,
And that's all it's gonna take. It's all it's gonna take because
yeah.
like you said, it will be the oasis in,
Everybody else
everything
is
else.
crispy. Everybody else is crispy, and it's just gonna be green. Like, it's gonna be green. And I
Yeah.
know that. Like, and I think and that's one of the things that I've been talking to some of my clients about, is like the way that the weather patterns are going, it's just getting hotter and drier. And that's the problem, is the dry part. Is that we're the spans of when we get rain, and during the summertime, it's just getting drier and drier. And it's hard to, I mean, if you don't have irrigation, like, it's hard to keep that cool season looking halfway decent, even with
Mhm.
irrigation, when it's you ain't had good rain in a month and a half. Like, it's almost like you struggle to get enough water on the ground even from irrigation.
And I think that's the part too is that, the stresses like what you're saying, um, they go down to a tolerable point in the worst of times, right? So, I don't know, I just think, like I said, it's all about means, motive, and opportunity on that one, and once that happens, like, it will just take off from there. So, I mean, so you wouldn't do like a demonstration on your own lawn just for the fun of it? Maybe?
I'm
Maybe?
I want to do it in the test plot right now where the rye is. That's what I want to do.
Would you do
And
it from spray how big is
I
I can't
just
picture how
planted
big is that area?
And how much
it's like 500 square feet.
yeah, how much sun
Okay, I
have
was
you
gonna say
got
it was
there,
less than
Cam?
1,000.
Yeah, yeah, it's like 500 square feet. Um,
But how how much
I would do it from sprig just so that I could show the entire process, right? I mean, because it's easy enough just to drop side in there and like, all right, boom, easy. Y'all know I never take
Yeah,
the easiest route to be able to do stuff. Like I mean, anybody can kill it off, get grade and stuff right, and drop some side in there. Like, and that don't excite me at all. But being able to drop sprigs and stuff in there, grow in the sprigs, doing the ground prep, get everything growed in, and I can show that entire process. Which, I mean, if you got a small yard, it's easy to go drop the side in. That's probably what I would recommend to anybody else, unless you just wanted that experience of growing in sprigs. But if you got
I
500
would
square feet,
counter. I
man,
would counter on the sod versus sprigs, Cam.
okay.
And my experience with sod is that I need so much top dressing slash a sand cap to get
Mm.
the turf area mowable after the sod is installed. My preference is for sprigs
'Cause you've
because
already it just grows to the grade that you've already got.
you've already established. Whereas with a sodding, heaven knows what you get after. I mean, unless, of course, the installer knows what he's doing and has brought like a multi-ton roller and has rolled that
Mm,
thing flat after he installed.
yeah.
But most people do not run a multi-ton roller on their sod install, and so that sod install, to me, to my standards, is not mowable because I expect it putting green flat, no more, no less.
Yeah.
more no
Yeah,
less.
like, yeah, I mean, I like the grow in process. Like, for me, like, just going and dropping side in, it doesn't do anything for me, right? It just doesn't. Like, being able to get the grade right, get the ground prep, and then growing in sprigs
Yeah,
is it's just something about it, being able to
it's an
see
accomplishment.
that entire process,
Yeah,
and, being able to do it on Pop's lawn and on that scale, I just like to be able to do it here and show it in, hey, it's transition zone, Maryland. I mean, I know it can be done. I was at, uh out on the Eastern Shore, there's actually a resort out there that they sprigged, their golf course out there from the same, from Jason out at Collins Wharf.
Yep, yep,
Collins
yep.
Wharf, he did the Hyatt out on the Eastern Shore,
Okay.
and me and my wife, we typically go out there once a year, like, right before the fall, and last year, they actually sprigged a couple of fairways with iron cutter. So, I went out there and I sent him some pictures. I was like, "Huh, you did a decent job. It's growing there pretty good." Um, so I know it's possible. Like, it's no doubt, that it'll work.
Well, and so that's the thing is like, um, I think you got to be the Johnny Bermuda seed of your area, dude. You gotta
Yeah.
just have to bring it to the people, show them, and plant it everywhere, and then someday in, like, 50 years, there's gonna be a Wikipedia article about you, be like, "This is the guy right here,"
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think it's
but it
not a homeowner grass there, and I don't know why it isn't yet, and you see I think some of it, honestly, I'll be honest. I think it's two things, and Ray can attest to the second one. The first one is, the sod farmers bringing it to market and trying to actually market their crop, and a lot of times, and we're seeing it like sod farming right now, for the most part, is very profitable. It's very in demand, and those guys don't have to work so hard to push their stuff out there, right? So when that happens, that
Mhm,
usually means that you're not going to spread what you're growing super far and super wide because you don't have to. You don't have to work.
mhm,
You don't get that much
mhm,
extra money because inventory is limited, right? And demand's
yep,
constant. So, well, you do what you got to do to make the money you can. Then you either raise your price, but you're not growing any more sod. And on the other side of it, and Cam, I'm curious of what you think about this. I know what Ray's going to say about the Filipinos, but like there is a uh, maybe an aversion sometimes to new things or things that need to be just a little bit nicer and require a little bit more care from the service professionals in these respective areas. And I'm not digging on anybody. I'm just saying it's the truth, right? There's some guys that are just damn happy to go climb on a zero turn, mow this shit at 4 inches, weed whack, and blow off and go on their day, right?
mhm.
So eh, is how much of it do you think is that, like, in your area and just what you know? I mean, you're talking about that before the show, about traveling and being in different parts of the country and things like that. What is the market like for somebody who wants to do something a little bit different, do it a little bit extra, and is that something that people are willing to pay for, you think?
So, I will say that unknown is and I think that's where a lot of the homeowners are, is that there's the unknown. Like, they're not familiar with it. Like, they're like, "What is Bermuda?" Like, I don't know anything about that, and it's a weed, like, it's always in my my flower beds and all of that. Um, I think and I've said it before, like, even the clients that I have, I'm not a provider for everybody, and I think y'all have talked about it on the channel, is knowing
Oh, yeah.
your clientele and knowing who your clientele is and catering to them. And for me, I will say I am not for everybody. So if you're calling me, I'm gonna give you a different perspective of what I'm gonna propose to you, also what the pricing is gonna be, and also what your options are gonna be. Because I'm not just gonna go out there and say, all you got to do is aerate, we're gonna throw some seed down and we're gonna be done. When I know you don't have irrigation, you're a south facing full sun all day, all night, like, and it's
Mm,
gonna get burnt up. And you're asking me to come in, I'm gonna give you a different option. And I'm gonna propose to you, which what I've started doing with a number of my clients is like, hey, I think at this point, like you've seen it year after year, it's just burn out during the summer. There is an option that we can go with,
there's a
and you
third
can
way,
continue to
right?
yeah, you can
There's a
continue
third
to
way,
have your
Cam.
green lawn. You can have
Yeah,
your green lawn during the summertime, and it does not have to get burnt out and be crispy for a month and a half, 2
yeah,
months out of the year.
yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean,
I
that's
think
How
it's the I think it's the education I think it's the education and the awareness and being able to put that in front of the clients, um,
mhm.
and I think people will pay for it. Like, I really do. Like, I think people will pay for it when you start showing the results. Like, and I think that's the other side of that coin is you gotta be able to show people. And I think
yeah,
that's one of
and
the things that I have with Pop's lawn is being able to show them. And I was like, "Hey, your yard's way smaller than this. Like, and this is what we did in a matter of about 9 weeks. Like this is what we accomplished, and it's really gonna make it easier on me. Like, from a provider standpoint,
Mhm.
I
all I
mean,
gotta do is,
I
it's gonna make it a
well,
lot
that's
easier
yeah.
on me.
Yeah, I mean,
It's gonna make that. Go ahead.
Cam, at some point in time, people need to set themselves up for success. And what I call success is being able to keep the turf during the hardest part of the year. And for you, with the turf type tall fescue, hardest part of the year is summer, right?
Mhm.
And
June,
likewise
July, and
for
August.
me, yeah, likewise for me, my hardest months are between December through April with Zoysia. I'm at the
Mhm.
point where anybody calls me to tell me, hey, my Zoysia is looking horrible. Is there anything you can do for me? I tell them, I sure can. I can tell you that it's time for you to get a bulldozer, get rid of that trouble prone crap, and put in Bermuda. Only in Hawaii are we so stupid to use Zoysia. Stop doing that to yourself.
And
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this. I think there's something to be said in Cam's part of the world, in very specific instances there too. Of same with tall fescue, right? Like there's some people that yes, it is super forgiving 6 months out of the year. The other 6 months are a crapshoot, and three of those, you're probably coming up snake eyes more than
Mhm.
anything,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Yep.
You ain't
Yep.
you're
rolling a lot
gonna
of
have
7-Eleven.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
Mm-mm.
and
your roll of the dice isn't quite coming out in your favor, and
2, 3, 12.
you added up year after year after year. I mean, because to me,
Mhm.
Cam, you know what my sign is when having to reseed a lawn
Mhm.
becomes like an annual ritual, or
And
in
you
my
and you
area,
have to do it. It's not even an option. It's like you
it's
have
not
to
even an
go
option,
do it.
or else, like in my area, when the turf loss from disease is so great that sections of the lawn have to be resodded.
Yeah.
That's when I say, no, this has got to go
Yeah.
permanently. Mm,
Yeah.
it
And
must
and I
go.
mean, I think it's also like I was saying, it's an awareness thing. I don't think the average homeowner looks at grass the way that we do. Like there's warm season, there's cool season, there's fescue, there's Kentucky bluegrass, you got Bermuda, zoysia, all of that. Most homeowners, they see green and they see grass and
Hmm.
they
Yeah,
want it and
I
and
think
and they want it green. They want it green and minimal weeds is what I've kind of found, and they want it green as long as they can out of the year. Um, and I think that's the one thing that I typically came up against is when it's gonna go brown. Like I don't want to look at a brown lawn half of the year. But then at the same time, I'm like, how often are you really out here? Like, are you really paying any attention to it at that point in time? And if we get a fairly cold winter, your fescue ain't gonna look much different than your
And your
fescue ain't gonna look
Bermuda
much
would, right?
different than your Bermuda would.
Or else frame it in a different way, Cam. Uh, ask them, is it tolerable to them to have their lawn looking dead between 4th of July and Labor Day,
Yeah,
right? Is it
yep.
tolerable to them? Or else I also
When
ask people, is it tolerable to you to have your lawn looking dead between Christmas and New Year's? Because that is exactly the time period in which over here, Zoysia can look scary.
Mhm.
Okay, absolutely
And
scary. And
that's
there's nothing. you can do about it. So it's like, hey, as Ryan always says, pick the time of the year when it is acceptable for your grass not to look its best. Pick your time.
And typically when you're having a cookout
Yeah.
and everybody's
Mhm.
over at the house and you got everybody, that's typically during that June, July, and
Right.
August time frame where when you got cool
August.
season, you rolling you
It's
looking a little sketch.
disintegrating under your feet. It's the liquefied organs of what used to be my tall fescue lawn. Y I see, okay, so you said something there, Cam, about, like, you didn't want green grass and don't want weeds, but here's the thing, dude, is, like, I agree with that. I don't you're not wrong. But how many people, like, how many people drive a nice car, like a really nice car, like a sports car or something exotic or whatever, but they're not a motorhead, right? Like, they
Yeah,
just like it because it fucking looks cool,
he looks
right?
good. Yeah,
And they don't know
yeah,
how it got that way, or they don't know all the
yep,
details about, how shit's tuned and what's the all the
yep,
inside baseball stuff. They just
mhm,
like it because when they get in and they drive down the street, people look at them and say, "That's fucking cool." And
yep,
I don't know, man. I think there's something to that of tapping into that. And, again, we've talked about that with a lot of people on here is that you don't have to be the biggest game in town. Nobody has to recreate that mentality and that approach to business on
mhm,
a true green scale to be really successful and make good money. And quite honestly, like you said, I think for you, Palmer's another one too, just like this. I mean, it's no wonder you guys run together. And Ken is like, yeah. At the end of the day, I think you're all businessmen. Yeah, you want to make money, but you guys are results driven people, right?
mhm,
Like the
yeah,
outcome, like and the process to get there and the journey and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I just think that I think you're onto something. I think that if you as soon as you get it up there, I'll give it I give it 2 years before um it's nuts. Like you're legitimately like telling people, no, I can't do it. I'm full.
yeah.
Like I
And
can't
and
help
it's
you. I'm
it's
sorry.
already it's already at that point, to be honest with you, because, like, I still got my full-time, um,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and my phone rings off the hook, like, especially, like, during this time of year. It's like,
Mhm.
Hey, Cam, this, hey, Cam," was like, "Can you come look at my lawn? Can you come look at my lawn? Can we do this?" And I've I'm at the point to where I pick and choose my clients now, and most of them have irrigation. The ones that I can actually, take on and give me some control of, "Hey, this is how we're gonna run it. This is how we're gonna do it," and, making sure that Imma get the results that I'm looking for and that they're gonna be satisfied. So I was actually talking to one of my new clients, over the weekend, um, and they were just blown away. Like, they came out and it was a late seeding, like, they contacted me late in the year. I was a little hesitant about it, um, but I felt that it would be a good opportunity and a good neighborhood to get into, and their neighbors are already asking. He was like, "Man," he's like, "My neighbor over here, he already asking what I got going on over here, and who's the lawn guy and everything." So that decision was already a good one, pretty good neighborhood for me to be able to get into, and their yard's looking. He sent me pictures, and then I swung by there last Sunday, and just from the fall overseeding and everything, it's looking A1 coming out. Just did the first cut on it. I was like, "Oh, yeah. We got something to work with. We got something to work with now."
I mean, I don't know. I think it's there. All right, okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the content. Let's talk about uh the team, if you will. And
Okay.
somebody has sent this to me a while ago. It might have been you. I don't even know. Um and it was shoot, let me think here. It was, you quoted, Ray and I about, like, the hardest thing to do is nothing, and, like, you show these
Oh, yeah.
pictures of your lawn in the short of, like, "Oh, it's rough, and I wanted to let it go, and this and that," and I was just like, "Man, how bad did it have to get for camp?" So, like, what precipitated that? What was going on at that point? Because this was, like, last summer, I think, when you made that.
Yeah, yeah. It was it was when we were in one of those droughts, like, we were dry for, like, a month, and I think we had went, like, 40 something, 45, I think, 45-ish days or so without any rain, and we had been upwards of mid-90s, upper 90s along with that, so it was just hot and dry, and to be honest with you, I was just tired of watering it, like, I was tired of dealing with it. I was like, "Yo," like, it's I was just watching it going cha-ching, 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 and city water ain't cheap around here. So I'm just like, I'm I'm done. Like, I'm I'm done. I will wait for the rain to come. And I basically did nothing. Like, I just I did a little bit of watering to keep the plant alive. I didn't go try to put a lot of anything else on it. I didn't try to go put a product on it. I didn't try to go fertilize it or anything else. I gave it some water to keep the crowns alive and to keep the plant alive, and that was it. And just wait for the environmental conditions to get back favorable. And when that happens, it just bounces right back. And I think that's one of the hardest things. And when y'all said that, it kind of resonated with me. It was like, sometimes the hardest thing to do is nothing. Like, just let it be. And sometimes you got to know what the environmental conditions are and what you're going to get out of it. So if you're not going to irrigate, you just have to understand that when we get into that hot and dry period, there could be times where the lawn's going to check out. Like, there could be those periods, and that is what it is. Like, if you're not going to water, if you're not going to do certain things for whatever reason it may be, you just have to understand what those results are gonna yield.
I agree, and I think that's something that, we've talked about this with, all of our best guests, including you, have, um, all talked about this, about, kinda knowing where the top is, and that sometimes, like, you're just not gonna get there, and
Yeah.
realizing that that's okay. And I think that's probably, um, I don't know, the thing Ray and I have probably seen, collectively and respectively over the years, is the people who either struggle so much with that they beat themselves up over it, or the people that continue to just beat their head against the wall, right? Like, which that was I'm sure it was, um, somewhat cathartic to sit down in front of the camera and be like, "Hey, listen, you know what? It's okay to do nothing sometimes." And you just live with it,
Nothing
you
is
move
the
on.
best. Nothing can be the best thing to do. In other words, I've told many people you can't fight Mother Nature. You've made your bed by your via your own choices. Therefore, you will live with your choices.
Mhm.
That's just reality and life. And my parting shot is often, who the hell told you to pick this grass in the first place? Because this is going to happen every single year. Okay, I mean
So,
that's how I put it.
and I think that's fair. I think that's fair that there's a lot of people that beat their heads against the wall, and for whatever reason continue to do so until it hurts.
Hmm.
But so, that was last summer. I mean, what has been the arc? I know what the content is, and like I talked about at the top of the show, I think it's more incisive. I think it's more, just trying to help and get right to the point, right? I think that's the part I enjoy, is like, you do cut through the BS, but you do so in a super disarming way, which is just like, hey, like, this is what you need to know, and this is what you need to do. right? And it's not like in a salesy way or anything like that. So, what I guess in the last 12 months, right? Like, what has been the arc in your mind as you think about, approach, and produce content? Like, is it the same as it's always been? And your ideas about turf and taking care of it and everything like that have continued to evolve, or is it a different approach to the content making, or is it a combination of the two? I'm curious.
I think it's a combination of the 2 for sure. I will say my approach to the content, I want to get straight to the point. I want to cut out the fluff. I look back at some of my earlier content and it gets right into the data and the science and all of that, which a lot of people you start to lose people. But the information that I'm providing now is all the same information. It's just packaged a little different. And I'm packaging it to the point of, hey, here's the straightforward things that you need to go do. Here's the information that you need to go implement without having the whole, "Hey, go look at this article," and getting into all of the sciencey details of it, but honestly, that's what it's based off of. It's just that, like,
Sure.
I've got that in the back of my head, and I've read it, and I've understand it, but it's presented it in a way that the average person, I've tried to simplify my content, to be honest with you, is just to the point to where the average homeowner was like, "Hey, I understand what you're saying. That makes sense. Like, I get that." And then I also have my couple of videos because that's what I like to do. That'll get into the sciencey stuff, right? I gotta scratch my own itch sometime of being able to like, hey, this is a video that I wanted to make for me, and then all of our sciencey geeky people out there. This type of video and this one here is for you. Um, so I like being able to make the content that's gonna be usable and that's actually gonna be value added to the viewer, to where they can take actionable steps. And after watching it, it's like, "Hey, I can go do that." Like, that's not bad. I can actually go do that.
Well, and I think like when you plan content out, I think people a lot of times will focus more on what they want to get across, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I don't think it comes back
Mm,
to you know the why, which is like, okay, well, the why of content is like you want people to actually put into practice what you do and what you say.
mhm,
And I think with the advice that you give it and the way that you give it, you hit on an important point there, right? Like the outcome of a lot of your videos is I feel inspired, I feel motivated, I feel confident, right? Those are really really good places to be if you are taking the first step or taking the next step, or whatever it might be. And so I don't know. I just feel like there is like I thought, like I was saying before, I guess it's kind of connected in a way. Is like, you know, uh, like you and Turf and Kent, like you guys all appreciate the journey, right? Maybe as
mhm.
much or more than the destination, which
Yeah.
is true of most good turf managers. I don't know, Ray, fair or not fair, that I think all the best ones take much more pleasure and pride in doing the actual work than they do spending 5 seconds or 5 minutes standing back and looking at it
I agree with that totally. I mean,
because we're psychos.
yeah, you see, you have to have a certain amount of you know OCD or psychosis to insist that a turf area get properly trimmed up and edged. You have
Mhm.
to be even nuttier to replace blades on a mower as often as I do. And oh, by the way, I'm not talking about a rotary mower either, Cam. I'm talking about a real
Yeah,
mower.
real. Yeah. Yeah, I know that's all you
I'm
cut with.
I'm changing blades on that regularly. I mean, that's nutty. A little bit, I think I'm ready for my prolonged stay at the sanitarium, you know?
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
it's one of those things, man. I also like to try to set the expectation, right? A lot of people, um, when they get started in the long game, new homeowner, first time having a yard, and they're just like, I don't know what to do, like at all. But they know what they want to have, but they got to understand that there's a journey to get there.
Mhm.
And I think that's the part that I try to make evident is there's a journey to get there. Like this is my yard wasn't developed the way that it was in one season. Like it you can make some great strides in a season, but you also now have an infant lawn that next summer that you may run up against some challenges with, right? Like 'cause
yeah,
like
there may be some
my
issues.
new client that I just picked up, like they're
Mhm.
loving it right now. The environmental conditions are good. I think it's gonna look amazing for probably the next month and a half, 2 months. His daughter's got a birthday party coming up. I think it's gonna look amazing for the birthday party. He's gonna get all his bragging rights that he wants to get, but come
Mm,
July and August,
mhm.
I e I expect that we're gonna have some struggles. Like, it's
Mhm.
from where we started at, like, that lawn is a infant right now. I
Fair.
expect that come July and August we're gonna have some challenges that are gonna be there. And I always say, like, my goal when doing a renovation or overseeding or just getting started in a lawn is that first year, my goal is to carry as much year one grass into year two. That's it. I don't want it ain't gotta be fancy. It ain't gotta look like I just want as much grass to stay alive from year one going into year two. Because now I got a foundation. And that mature grass is just gonna continue to mature and get tougher year after year, and it tends to make the job a little easier, um, given environmental conditions and all of that, but as it matures, it toughens up. Like, it's not like an infant anymore. It can take a little hotter. It can take a little drier durations, before it starts to check out. So, yeah, it's and that's what I try to talk to people about. I try to get that message across that this thing isn't instant. Yeah, you can go drop seed, and yes, it can look great right then. In 30 days, you can turn it around cool season in the fall. But just know, well, as we like to call it, the fourth quarter, when the fourth quarter comes, June, July, and August, that's for
Mhm.
cool season and the transition. That's where you better, like you say, Ryan, you better call a professional.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, you do have to do that, and it's I don't know, it feels like every year it starts getting late just a little bit earlier every year,
Yeah.
and,
My
sometimes
my yard
that's not so good.
typically my yard typically peaks around the last week in June, right before 4th of July. 4th of July is when everything starts to change. Like, typically, 4th of July is, like, when I'm starting to see the the downturn and when 4th of July rolls around, because at that point, we start getting a lot more evening storms and rain and moisture, and it's just hot and sticky, and disease pressure and everything else starts to go through the roof at that point in time. But typically, like, I've looked back year after year, and it's like that last week of June, like, my yard is typically on fire. Like, it is on fire.
However,
It's,
Cam, would you ever think though that, and this is something that I frequently have conversations with people on, is are we setting the grass up to fail by expecting a lot out of it between March through June. Are we setting it up for failure? Because you see, over the years and talking with people that grow cool season grass, I've hit upon a common theme. The grass that is left alone, not overfed, not overstimulated, not touched too much in the spring, goes through summer a lot easier.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. I agree.
Okay, I mean,
I've seen that experience before where I've backed off of, like, fertilization in the spring. Like, spring fertilization is very minimal, just enough to get things going. You know, when you start to get the seed head, around that seed head period of time, you need to have a little
mhm,
little gas in the tank for it
mhm.
to push through because 'cause you'll start to get that off color and everything else and going through that seed head production phase. Um, but other than that, like, all this excessive top growth and mowing and everything else, like, overfeeding it in the spring, it makes it harder. Like, my front yard, I don't know what's wrong with it. It is growing like crazy right now, and I haven't put a thing on it, like, nothing at all. It's growing way faster than the backyard is. I I I don't know what's going on with it. It's growing like crazy right now. About the same amount of N on both, from in last fall, but the front yard is just growing like crazy. I was like, shoot, the next thing that I if the first thing I may put on that is a PGR. Forget putting some fertilizer down. The first thing it might get is some PGR.
Yeah.
That is like advanced level growth management, as I like to call it, where and in managing that growth, I think that it sets the grass up to deal with the stressful periods a lot better versus if it were allowed to grow unchecked through its surge growth period. And that's kind of why, for example, Cam,
Yeah.
when I put lawns on the STFU, I noticed that I have less issues come December, January, and February
Yeah.
because I've kept that excessive growth down. In other words, I've gotten the grass to conserve its energy for
Yeah.
when it actually needs it.
And that's another reason why I also went to more of like spoon feeding type of program
Mhm,
on my lawn
mhm,
is
mhm.
because I don't get that excessive growth. It's just like the lawn just the growth pattern just stays very consistent. Like it doesn't have its peaks and valleys and all of this. The color doesn't flush up and down and all of that. It just stays consistent. And
Yes.
that's one of the reasons why I typically try to go with those spoon feeding type of programs, especially on my lawn, just so that like things just stay consistent and you're not jerking the plant around, and then you got to get out there and you can't keep up with it because it's growing like crazy.
I don't know. I
For
think that
sure.
it's an underutilized tool, and I know you've done content about it before. I know you've talked about the different types of PGRs, everything like that. But I
Hmm.
think that's one that needs to kind of continue to lose its whatever stigma or enigma or whatever
It
exists around it
it has
because
one because I've had people in the comments that have came for me. I'm never stunting the growth of a plant. Do you, would you like to have your growth stunted? And I like it's
okay.
like
Okay.
yeah there
Okay. I
was
mean, well, you know what? I have a counter or an answer to that. Cam. I I tell people, you know what? I would have gladly given up a couple inches of height if I could be 40 to 50 pounds heavier. And I pretty honestly, and at the same time, I tell people, hey, PGR is not poisoning the grass. PGR instead, if properly
Mhm.
used, is redirecting the energy that the grass normally expends growing vertically towards roots and stems.
Mhm.
It's not toxic, you know. It's because people equate PGR sometimes with herbicide. And I tell them, you guys are not wrong about that because glyphosate or Roundup was originally developed as a PGR. It's just that the researchers discovered that, hey, this works a little too well.
Mm.
The line between PGR and total death is too fine a line when you're talking
It's
about
too fine.
glyphosate.
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
And that might be what scares people, puts people off, everything like that. And I say, you push ahead, shit'll grow back, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Talk a little bit more about the content and the team, what y'all have coming up, what you're excited about this year on the content side.
Yeah, so, from the content side of things, we gonna keep doing what we do. Like, we gonna keep bringing the information. We gonna bring the quality information, the value added information. Uh, we we just gonna keep doing it. You can look at or expect to see, a lot of the, straightforward type of answers and stuff to a lot of the questions that people may be having. You can also probably expect to see us do some collaboration type stuff, as you've seen some of those reels and everything that we've been dropping here recently. Uh, with some collaboration on some things that we got coming to the forefront. We did a live stream about some things that we're bringing forward for the people. So you can expect to have more of that, and we're gonna keep bringing the stuff that the people are asking for. And just like a lot of the reels that we've said, a lot of people have asked for it. So we're gonna make sure we come through and deliver with what they're asking for.
Well, I don't know who they are. I see a few people in the chat that may have been following you over here, and they've had some insightful things to say. Thomas Strong has had a couple, 2 or 3 really good comments in here. I know the one time I came on your show that there was a lot of really good questions and banter and things like that. Not just like, oh, people joking around, but like the audience that you have. This seems very astute, right? And yearning for more information. I like that. I like that about people in general, but I like it when they go and seek it out, and people like you that are there to deliver it. So I don't know, man. I feel like we should do this. Hey, we should do this a sixth time. I mean, hell, why not, right? I mean,
Why not?
we got to
Why
catch you
not?
up to Aldo and to Lushy.
Yeah,
Lushy hasn't been on here in a minute either. Damn.
yeah, yeah. Like I said,
Oh,
we've got some content and stuff coming. Outside of content, we're bringing a product to market. Um, we've
tell me about
already
it. Tell me
released
about it.
and we've already released and made the announcement on that. So you can expect to see Phoenix is going to be the name of the fertilizer. So we are bringing a granular fertilizer to the market. It is called Phoenix. It is a 25010 analysis, homogeneous prill, 3 nitrogen sources, urea, AMS, and also nitrate. We've got a pretty good package of nitrogen sources that are in there. 120 SGN, so
Dang.
you can spread it down to those low spoon feeding rates. I spread it at a quarter pound with no issues, like at all. quarter pounder in went down like butter through the spiker. So I even think I could have spread it lighter than that, and still got good coverage and everything. But we're running some trials on it right now. They're looking good. They're looking good. We're liking the results that we're seeing from it, and we'll be bringing pre-sale orders to the market very soon. So we're excited about that.
Bring that.
That's one of the things that we've been thinking about that for a long time. We've been wanting that. Just taking everything that we've learned from y'all, everything that we've learned from Dr. Shaddix, everything that we've learned from our experiences, and just trying different products and understanding how things work, and then pulling that into a package and trying to provide a fertilizer that has a lot of value to it, right? That has a lot of value to when you go make that purchase, right? 120 SGN. Most of the stuff that you get out there that you can go click a button and buy ain't 120 SGN. Most of it's not a homogeneous prill. Most of it, you're not going to get three individual nitrogen sources that are going to be in there. So there's a number of things that are differentiators for this fertilizer compared to currently what's on the market.
And I think that's the differentiator here is that um you guys are putting a product into the market that if you're really serious about this, and again, just it's a small subset of people, right? You're really serious about this, and it has wide appeal and wide value. If people will value it for what it is, which is it's not something you're going to go out and find at, definitely not the big box store, almost assuredly not at any supply house, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's a special order product at best, and you're probably ordering this stuff in pallet quantities to get it shipped into wherever you are, and you're paying a premium for it. So, like, um, I love that idea that because there's really only a couple of um, fertilizers out there really that are 120 and smaller that you could go out and reliably put down a quarter pound of in it that you can easily get, right? I can think of like 3. And so
yeah,
to have that what you guys have and to have all those, nitrogen sources, it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty
yeah,
cool, and it's got a
yeah,
badass name, let's just be honest, like, "What are you doing in your laundry?" "I'm putting some
yeah.
fucking Phoenix on it." "You're doing what?"
What?
"Well, let me tell you about it. Let me tell you about it." And when you
Yeah,
lay it down like
yeah,
you did right there, it's got all the sizzle that you could ever wanna sell.
yeah, yeah. And I mean that's the thing, right? We get asked all the time what seed we're using and what fertilizer we use. So we brought the seed to the market last fall with the Elm Street Elite grass seed blend, the 90-10 mix with all the Mountain View seed cultivars that are in there. We brought the seed to the market, and then the next question that we need to go answer for the people is, hey, what fertilizer are we using? And hey, now we've got a fertilizer that we'll be using, and the way we're aiming is to be able to have the people be able to make a single click. And it was like, hey, you get your seed and your fert, and here you go. And that's the way that we're packaging that. And of course, you can go buy them individually, but we answered the question. Like people ask all the time, like you don't know how many times a day I get
Oh,
asked,
I'm sure.
what seed is that? What seed is that? And what fertilizer are you using? What fertilizer are you using? So it wasn't a, "Hey, we just gonna go out here and try and put a product out there on the market just for the hell of it," but it was, "Hey, we're gonna go answer a question and a problem that has been brought to us, and we're gonna go find a solution and bring it to the people and give them something unique."
You love to see it. You love to see it. Hey, Cam, thanks for coming on tonight, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Thank you.
It's always
Thank
always a
you.
good time.
Always, always. You'll be back for 6 here before too long because I want to hear about how there's Bermuda in the neighborhood now, and you don't have to drive 360 miles down to the
Yeah.
pop's place
Yeah, you don't
just
need to drive
just
to
to
Pop's
have
house
and
to
see
see
something
Bermuda
that you call
anymore.
your own.
Yeah, That's high on my list right now. That is high on my list.
I'm telling you, it's the there's the offshoot, there's the package. Local Bermuda. All right. Localbermuda.com. That's gonna hook you up to Cam. We'll buy the domain for you. We'll get it all set up. Pump it to you. All right. Cam, thank you,
All right,
thank
fellas.
you. Love you all. Love the reworking. I want to talk to Palmer here soon. He called me. I gotta call him back. But no, seriously, thanks for everything you guys do too on your channel. Thanks for everything you do on your channel, Cam. Keep pumping out good info, and keep selling that magic fertilizer and grass seed, man, because that shit's working. So just
Yeah,
like you, we
yeah.
work. All right, hey, thank you all. Have a great night.
All right.
We love you.
Appreciate
Bye.
it. Yeah, have a go.